everybody. Today we have the amazing Jenna Satterthwaite. She's the author of Made for You and the upcoming novels A Killer Getaway and The New Year's Party. Aside from authoring several novels, she's also a literary agent. Full of endless insight. I'm so happy to have you on. Welcome, Jenna.
We'll let your listeners judge about my insight. But thank you
No,
for
I know
having
it.
me. I'm
I know
excited
it.
to
So
chat.
So what I would do is split today into like multiple sessions. So the first session will be author questions, just because I want to get a little bit about your writing and your process and your journey there, and then shift over to agenting, which I have even more questions about. But
Let's do
um,
it.
yeah. So to start off, the your author's journey, I know it's as anybody's journey is all over the place, and it's kind of like a crooked path.
Yeah,
But I am curious, like what got you writing, and how long have you been writing, and just a little
sure.
bit about your journey.
Yeah, I mean, besides the childhood fantasies of writing and publishing a book, which I feel like everyone who ends up doing this has that, maybe not everyone, but most. I didn't write until my 30s. For context, I'm 42 now. I just had a birthday a few days ago. Um,
Happy birthday.
And thank you. So, about a decade ago, actually, it'll be 11 years this fall, is when I wrote my first novel, which was a terrible cozy mystery that nobody should ever read. Like, it really, no good, but that's fine. It was my kind of proof to myself that I could write a book. And the impulse to start writing it was I had just lost a pregnancy. I had an ectopic pregnancy between my oldest kid and, well, Benjamin, who ended up being next. So I just was sad, like really sad. And as I was kicking around the apartment in my robe, like recovering from surgery and processing the fact that I just almost died, I kind of didn't want to be present. I wanted a break from all the feelings. And I just picked up my laptop one day and I'd been reading a lot of cozy mysteries that my mother-in-law would foist on me. You know, they have these long series, like A to Z, 26 books, paperbacks, and I
Yeah.
would just kind of binge them as comfort reads. And I was like, I could do this. You give like the main character a hobby, you put her in a small town, or you give her a small business, and then she finds a body. And it's always a bad guy, so we don't have to feel conflicted. We're happy they're dead, and then we
Yeah.
solve it. And there's a love triangle. Like there's a very formulaic way that these books happen that's very comforting to read. It felt like candy, and it really helped me understand, oh, this is the expected structure and all I have to do is come up with my own spin on that. And so that's what I did. And it was this magical, life-changing experience of really disappearing as I wrote into this other world that I was in full control of, where nothing sad was happening except of my own creation. And, I think of, I guess it was like therapy, honestly. It was like sitting in a quiet room. Well, see, therapy or processing things, but that's happening too. Sorry, this may sound confusing or conflicting, but I find both to be true. I find writing to be very escapist, and I also find it to be a tool for processing grief, in particular for me. And so I just found this magic alignment of like, wow, I can feel good for like 2 hours while I write, and I can process my crap. This is amazing, and I never want to stop, and so I haven't.
Oh, absolutely. That's such a wonderful answer. And I agree with you on both points. Like writing is an escape. It's an escapist thing for specifically for the readers, but even for the writer.
Oh yeah,
And I always am astonished by writing as an act of discovery, where
absolutely.
you write and you discover even your own thoughts, your own feelings. So yeah, that's wonderful. Now, a quick follow-up question to that. So you started writing as it like the grief was the trigger.
Hmm.
Did you have any writing experience at that point? Had you taken classes? What was I mean, yeah, where
Not
were you
any,
coming from?
yeah, not any formal writing experience. I
Hmm.
did write literally as a child, I wrote novels. So as like a 6 or 7 year old, I wrote a book called Crybaby. I wrote it by hand in a little
That's
journal. It
fascinating.
exists to this day. Um, and then when I was like 11, I wrote like a trilogy, also by hand and like on lined paper in the binder. It's somewhere. So it was always there. I did major in English and I did some poetry in college. Oh yeah, I wrote short stories in high school and won some contests in Spain where I grew up. So yeah,
Okay.
like I played around, I did things, but I think once I hit what I think of as like adulthood, like I had to get a job, I was done with college and it was time to work, it just dropped off completely. I wasn't writing or really doing anything super creative for a while because I was figuring out my dang life.
Right.
Like, it sucks to have to work
I
every
know.
day. And I was facing that long tunnel of like, wait a minute, how long do I have to do this?
And you
Oh no.
rediscovered, and there's a beautiful symmetry to that. The grief that you experienced in adulthood
Mm,
helped you recover your childhood joy. That's
absolutely. Oh,
Yeah,
I
that's
love
pretty
how you just put
beautiful.
that. I hadn't really thought of it like that before, but
Yeah,
that's lovely.
it's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Hmm.
So that's your journey becoming a writer, right?
Yes.
Now there's the journey of becoming an author, which is a
Oh.
whole different thing. And your journey is so inspiring for so many people to hear because it wasn't I wrote a book and then that book got picked up and then here I am, which some people
Right.
do have that story and that's amazing too.
Yes. Yay
But
them.
yes,
Oh.
but I think your story is super inspiring. So could you tell us a little bit about that journey? I know it's a long one, but if
Sure.
you can condense it as much as
I
you
will
can.
condense it. Basically, I wrote a ton of books over many years. So the first 4.5 years of my writing journey from that cozy mystery, for the next 4.5 years, I wrote, I think, 5 books. It might have been four, it might have been five. I can't remember. I have a spreadsheet somewhere. And I started querying. Prior to that, I didn't know what agents were. I didn't know what the path was to getting a book published. So I was discovering that, sending out query letters, writing another book, revising the book, I got an R&R at one point and I thought, "Oh, finally it's happening." And then, I didn't really rock it and that fell apart, which is fine. So there was, half a decade basically of getting I think about 700 rejections is what it added up to by the end of my
Wow.
querying journey. Finally got 2 offers from 2 different agents on a young adult book, signed with my current agent, Lauren. And then the next part started, which was very similar to the first. More rejections, writing more
Yeah.
books. So we did not sell the young adult mystery. We ended up working on 6 books together and didn't sell any until number 6. And that took another 4 years.
Wow.
So it was 8.5 years from cozy mystery to getting an offer from the Big Five imprint that eventually became my first publishing home. Eight and a
Wow.
half years, and I think the query rejections were in the 700s, and then there were easily 100+ editor rejections as well along the way.
Oh my
So
gosh.
lots of no's. Yeah.
I find that I know that was not easy for you, but personally, I find that so inspiring. I like it really when people say it takes attrition, it's this journey where you just like have to be persistent, you can't give up. You have to reframe the nose
Oh, yeah. So much
into
reframing.
yeah, because art is so subjective. And you hear a lot of that advice and it's amazing, but it doesn't help you in the moment. It actually is just like it's just painful and it's hard and it takes a
It
lot of
is.
courage. So I applaud you for doing that,
Thank you.
and thank you for being a success story for us because it is inspiring for everybody else
Oh,
that's
gosh.
that's in those early stages where they're still getting those they're collecting the 700 rejections still.
So many
Um,
rejections. It's such a
yeah.
downer. I think I am grateful. Well, this is a bit of a loaded thing to say. I am going to say it though. I am grateful that I didn't get picked up right away.
Hmm.
When I think of not even the cozy mystery, but the next book that I wrote, like back to back, it was like a young adult dystopian, and it had potential. It got a lot of interest from um, some really cool agents who, one who offered me an R&R, some others who were like, "Oh, this feels almost there," and it got like those almosts. But if I had ended up getting an agent with that, going on sub, selling it, I didn't actually know how to write books yet. I had written that one. I didn't understand story structure. I didn't understand genre at that point. I didn't know what I was writing. I didn't understand reader expectations and how they um, mesh with genre. And I just know that the next book would have been a disaster. Because it was, literally. Like, even in my actual journey that happened, the next book I tried to write was horrible. It was 100,000 words that I don't even count as a finished book. And
Wow.
it took me a while to realize I don't actually know what I'm doing. It was kind of dumb luck where this one story kind of worked. Now I really need to think about what is a story? And
Right.
you hear beginning, middle, and end, but what is a character arc? How do you, I guess, combine that with a satisfying sequence of actions, which we call the plot, in a way that is, in the end, feels like you've arrived somewhere? Um, it's not something that I actually knew how to do, even when I had written two books. So I'm
Right.
very grateful for the years of learning to do that prior to having the pressure with a publisher and with a contract of delivering another book to them.
That's interesting. What I find really interesting is how you brought up genre in that in your in this in just right now. And am I right in assuming that you pivoted to young adult and then got picked up by the agent and then pivoted away from young adult?
Yes,
That's
yeah.
interesting. That's really
So
that's
I did adult cozy mystery, young adult dystopian, young adult, actually, I would call it new adult speculative, maybe dystopian, then young adult mystery. Oh, there was like a horror in there too. I've done a lot of things, and I got
yeah,
my agent with the young adult, but we couldn't sell a couple young adults. And I was like, I'm going to write an adult thriller, and that's what we
yeah.
sold.
Wow. And do you find that that was a more natural fit when you shifted to adult, or they feel the same to you?
I think they all felt great. I
Oh, good.
still love some of my young adult books, and my agent and I have been talking like, oh, we should unearth that one young adult book that we really like still believe in. But I just don't have the time right now because I have other books that are, well, under contract or hopefully soon to be under contract that are keeping me busy. So once there's a hiatus in the craziness, I
Oh,
would love to return to some of those young adult manuscripts and
that's
retool them a
amazing.
little
Yeah,
bit.
you have a treasure trove of manuscripts that even if you like as you said, return to it, maybe rewrite it, maybe you take a piece of one storyline from it and it
Mm,
I don't
make
know,
something new.
that's really neat. That's really cool. Okay, so that's your writing story, your author
Yeah.
story in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And then you decide to become an agent, which is unbelievable.
I'm a
And so my
glutton for punishment. I just
well, I
love no's.
you get no at every step. Um, but so my question is, what what made you decide? What was that moment where you said to yourself, I think I'm going to be an agent?
Oh
Because
my gosh. Yes, no,
that's a
it's
moment.
I'm realizing that what made me start writing and what made me decide to agent are both grief stories. So y'all are
Oh
gonna
my
get my very
gosh.
sad like life stories. But my youngest sister died a few years ago. It'll be 3 years in August. So this is before I got my first book deal, shortly before. Um, and I was like 39 at the time, so I was approaching my 40th birthday. We just experienced this tremendous and tragic loss in the family. And, 40 is kind of that perfect midlife crisis age as well. Kind of about halfway through, maybe less than halfway, but approaching that halfway point of your working years. And so it was just kind of like a perfect storm of what have I done with my life? Not in a panicky way, but I've just never worked a job I loved, ever. I started working full time at 21. As soon as I graduated college, I was, you know, in the workforce and haven't stopped since. And I've at best tolerated my jobs. I can make money, I can be successful, but I don't love them. And there was a moment of like, we're all gonna die one day. And I just watched my youngest sister, move on to the afterlife, whatever that looks like. Her happiest year was actually her last year, and it was partly because she was doing ballet choreography, which she had wanted to do her whole life and never had a chance. She had four kids,
Wow.
she was very busy, but that last year, the stars aligned for her, and she was able to choreograph Cinderella for Safe Haven Ballet on the East Coast. And she loved it. And even though she was in pain and literally like dying, she was so happy and like alive at the same time in her spirit, because she was
Right.
doing work that she loved. So that was kind of a very orienting experience for me. And I had to ask myself that question, what would make me happy to the level that choreography made her happy? And
Hmm.
immediately agenting came to mind. I had watched my agent obviously represent me, pitch my books to editors over many, many years. Uh, and I was watching like how she like cared for me and would check in with me and edit and um I think it struck me as something I was surprised that I hadn't noticed before that all the different parts of agenting were things I either loved or was good at. So, take contracts and negotiating. I had done that. Like for 20 years I've been in the
Oh,
business world doing that kind of work. I've been in sales roles, sales adjacent roles. I've been like the legal person on my team going over contracts, a bankruptcy like thing that we had a few years ago at my day job. So that was like, oh, I can handle that part. That's fine. And
Oh
then, of
yeah.
course, the reading itself, that's wonderful. I love reading. And I love editing. I found that out through writing and trading beta reads and being a critique partner for people. Like, I got a sense for story, and I'd written enough books that I finally figured it out. Like, how do you do a story? Oh,
Right, right.
it turns out there are some very useful techniques. So all of that just kind of led to I can do the editing part, I can do the reading part, I can do the negotiating part. I love people, I love artists, I can do the relational part. Networking is fun. Dang, like this job has all the things that I actually want to do. So I floated it by my agent. I was like, Lauren, I don't know. I had this idea, but like, whatever.
Yeah.
Tell me your honest opinion. Should I be like an agent? And she was like, yes!
Oh, that's
Her
awesome.
response was so immediate and so enthusiastic. I'll never forget it. And so right away she was like, okay, first thing you need to do is find some internships. So I was able to do that, and I did two internships, one with Liza Dawson, one with Reese Literary, and then, was looking for jobs throughout that and found one with Storm where I am currently.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that
Yeah, it turns
story.
out grief is like a huge driver in my life. Isn't that funny? Huh.
Yeah, it's again, interesting symmetry. I think it's yeah, it's I guess what I have to say about that is uh the fact that grief is inspiring you and introducing you to beauty or reminding you of beauty in your life is just so beautiful that that's the way you're processing that. And I think that's amazing that you were,
Yeah.
it kind of gave you another lease on life. And here you are living your best life, doing
There's
it
something
all
about
with the,
endings, I think, that make us think about beginnings, right?
yeah. Oh,
So with the
oh, you're
pregnancy and then my youngest sister watching
y-
something come to an end
absolutely,
and then thinking about what's next. You've closed a
absolutely,
book in a sense, and it forces you to look ahead in fresh ways, I think.
absolutely. You're bringing up
Yeah.
my favorite T.S. Eliot. I love four quartets and that's his thing. Like the endings are really beginnings and,
Oh, I love that.
yeah, so cool. So so then you found agenting, and am I right in saying that started you became an agent before you sold your first book? So you were then an agent and still trying to sell your books as an author, like all that was
Not
happening at
quite.
once.
I sold it right before, was it before I got my internship, my first internship? It was pretty much simultaneous. It was
Oh,
May
okay.
2023. I sold my book and got my first internship in the same
Oh my
few, like maybe
gosh.
in the same week. It was like really back to back.
Oh,
And it
that
was
must
right
have.
before I turned 40 that month. So it felt like this little gift from, you know, the universe, God,
Yes.
Heidi, my sister, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or maybe it was
All of the
just
above.
chance. All of the
I'm
above
with you.
or
I'm with you
random.
on the yeah. I'm with you on all the
But
above.
it was a very special month because, yeah, I was turning the big 40, and both things that I had been working towards and dreaming about hit at once. So I
Wow.
didn't become an agent until the following January. So I interned for, what is that, 6 or 7 months total. So January of 2024 is when I officially came on with Storm, and I opened to queries in February. So I've been agenting for, is that 16 months? I think
Okay,
it is.
so
June. Yeah, 16 months as of
wow.
right now.
Okay, so 16 months
Mm,
and yet um the insight that I've seen from you on on the on the agenting side alone is incredible in 16 months.
thank you.
Your posts have been so detailed and so elaborate, and I love that you're so open about it all, the process. I feel
You
like you're
know,
writing
why
about
not?
yeah. Well, I feel like you're writing about agenting in a way that not everybody does. You're really opening the door and kind of showing the vulnerability of it and what goes on behind the scenes and the emotions of it. It's really interesting. It really is. I think it's helpful
I'm
for
so glad
other
you've enjoyed it.
yes, I think it's helpful for authors to read. So authors out there and agents, read her Substack. She's great stuff on there. But and
Oh,
I want to delve into that stuff a little bit without like I know you've written about this a lot, so I don't want to make you kind of rehash
yeah.
everything, but just to
Anything
go
you want.
just
Let's
to go over like the
let's dig in.
highlights.
Sure.
So what you've been doing is this for 16 months now. What would you say is the hardest part for you about agenting?
Oh gosh, that one's so easy. It's when authors say no to me when
Oh,
after I offer to represent them. It is so heartbreaking. I cannot emphasize it enough. I mean, this job is really about, well, it's about many things. But right at the beginning of the journey, you have to fall in love with a manuscript.
Hmm.
That's like step one.
Right.
Um, but sometimes there's no step two. You fall in love with a manuscript, and then the author decides to go with another agent. At that point, you've invested, not only the hours in reading it, but usually time talking to the author. There are authors that I've been on the like Zoom calls with multiple times as they debated between their offers, and you really end up investing in them and imagining that relationship, right? They're asking you, what are your editorial notes? And you're communicating about the book and getting excited about how you could shape it together and who you would submit it to and sharing your plan with them. And so you really build it up as like this is what it could look like for the next few years together. And then to get that email that's like, it will be like thank you in the title. And when you see a thank you, you know it's going to be bad.
Oh.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate
Mm.
your offer, but I've decided to go with someone else. And those emails, I mean, that will take me out for 24 hours emotionally. I'm done. Like, it's not like I go to bed and don't do anything. I don't have enough time to actually wallow as much as I want to. But in terms of like my joy, it just slaughters me for at least a day, sometimes longer, depending on, how obsessed I was with the book, which they're not all the same. Like if I offer, I love it, but I can think of two, which I will not go into details, but there are two books, one last year and one that I lost this year that they break my heart every time I think about them.
Oh.
I wanted them so much.
Oh my
And I liked it,
gosh.
and I loved the authors too. Like they were just such cool people,
Right. Right.
I wanted that relationship with them.
Yeah.
Um, so, I in no way am ever angry at the authors or kind of like, ah, how dare you? Like this is all about finding the best match you can. So I in no way resent that they chose someone else, but there's that pain of like, oh, I wanted us to love each other, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful answer. I think so. w- To follow through with that analogy of falling in love, you as the agent fall
Mhm.
in love with the manuscript,
Mm.
and then you envision this great future.
Right.
But the interesting thing is, what you have to do then, after you've fallen in love, is ask someone to marry you, kind of. It's like
Correct. Oh my
taking
gosh,
that leap,
yes.
right? And then it's
Yes.
like, and then when they say no, you're like, oh, I thought we had something here.
Right. It's like the dating shows, like Love is
Right.
Blind, and you both show up at the altar and you're like, yes, and they're like, no.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine that.
Oh, it's
I never like,
devastating. It's brutal. It's the worst.
yeah, I never fully saw it that way. But that also brings to mind then the conventional wisdom, which I've heard a ton of times. We can get into a lot of like advice and conventional wisdom and the myths of how you should query and how you should find an agent. But the conventional wisdom I know is if an agent offers representation, rather than saying yes right away, to
Mm-hmm.
then reach out to all the people that you've
Yes.
queried and say, I have an offer. And you kind
Yes.
of like you could
Yeah,
potentially instigate a bidding war or a
absolutely. It
competition.
happens all the time. Like
Right.
yeah.
And I get that. I get that, but also that doesn't feel like my personality at all to do that.
You
It seems like
know,
if someone reaches out and goes, I love it too, then you go, oh, good. Like, what are the odds to find someone else that loves it naturally? Because now you don't know if you can trust that they really love it because they're saying that with kind of this thing holding over their head a little bit, right? Like it.
mm,
Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
it does. I have had one author tell me yes on the call,
Hmm.
and I won't say who. I love her to death. She's one of my clients now. And I remember like trying to discourage her. I'm like, no, no, you could take your time. Like get back. She was like, no, I
Yeah.
know that I want you. You're my dream agent, and we're doing this. And I was
That's
like, all right, let's go. I'm not gonna,
yeah.
I
That's kind
tried,
of
but let's do it. But I mean, and I think that was the right choice for her. So in no way dissing her decision in that moment, but I do think in general people should give 2 to 3 weeks. I would say three if you can, to let all the other agents who even have your query, not even your full, but everyone that you've queried who hasn't rejected you yet, tell them you have an offer. Because I've seen it play out. Like okay, so there were the two people that I lost. One of them last year, I was the third person to offer, if I remember correctly, on their manuscript. And I remember them being like, "Oh, this call feels great. I'm actually really excited." And they told me like, you're my top person right now," which I was like, "Okay, I'll take that. That's awesome." Um, but I told him like, "But you might get more offers and do what's best for you, but like of course I would like love to work with you and I'll wait to hear back." And like a week and some change later when their deadline hit, they emailed me and they're like, "I'm so sorry, but someone else came along. You were right, like, for me to wait because they feel like a better fit for me. And, you were awesome, but I've found someone who, like, I just really resonate with." And that happened again with my other recent one where I was the third offer. There's something about this number.
Uh,
And they were like, "I really like you. Yes." And then they went on to get like three or four more offers from like really fancy agents who've been at this for a really long time
right.
that in the end I couldn't compete with. I ended up being their second choice. They just told me we got on multiple calls and they were
Sure.
very open about I'm debating between like you and this person and it was tough. So I guess from seeing both of them, even though I lost them, I'm glad they gave themselves the time and didn't just say yes to me. I'm not glad for me. I'm glad for them because they did end up finding another person that surprised them that they loved
Right.
even more. So you just don't know until you've talked to everyone. And routinely, people are surprised. They think they know, oh, these agents have offered, this is my favorite, and then someone else comes along, and that can change everything.
Right.
Sorry, that
Yeah,
was a
so
long answer.
no, no, that's so interesting. It brought to mind the idea of this is going to sound like maybe it's a stretch, but I do wonder if you offer and then
Mm,
you say to your prospective client, reach out and see if anybody else wants to do it, and they do get five other offers,
mhm,
and then they come back to you and go, I do want to stay with you, Jenna.
mm.
I part of me wonders, does that spread the word about the manuscript a little bit? And now, and I don't know if agents talk to about manuscripts like that. Like
We
maybe
talk
someone else
about
talks about the
them.
one that got away and you got it,
We do. We
and
talk
now maybe
about
that
them in
helps you sell it to
private.
an editor. I don't know.
I don't know if it would help sell it to an editor because I don't think we'd be having those conversations in public forums.
Oh, okay. I don't know what
Um,
you. I don't know anything about the behind the scenes with you
yeah.
guys. Seems so
So
mysterious.
we have a very lively Discord chat that's
Oh, cool.
private. I'm in one with I think there are 15 of us, and that is like my sustenance, my daily sustenance. I love those agents. They are my BFFs, my virtual BFFs. So we're always telling each other exactly what's going on. Like I offered on this manuscript, and sometimes we've all offered on the same one, or not all of us, but there might be multiple of us in the group who've offered on the same one, and we'll tell each other like I offered on this, and sometimes we'll all lose it to someone else, and then we get to like whine and moan about it to each other, like, oh, so and so got it. Ah!
All right.
So it's really comforting to have people who are going through the same thing you are, and that applies on the writing front when you're querying. It's so great to have community who's also querying. And when you're agenting and losing out on these like incredible authors to the fancy people, it's great to have like other newer agents and we can all just like have a little cry fest.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's all about community, right?
It
It's what it comes
oh,
down to.
can't do it without community. No.
I have one more like kind of lengthier question, and then
Sure.
then a fast round of like
Ooh.
kind of more fun, lighthearted questions. But so this question might be kind of challenging to answer, but I'm just curious because now you have a unique perspective. You've seen the industry from the writer's side, from the
Mhm.
someone who's signed by an agent who wants to get published or wants to get a contract.
Mhm.
You've seen it from the agenting side
Mhm.
of things, working one on one with both the author and the editor, which
Mhm.
is you really have seen everything. So my final larger question to you is, what have you learned about the publishing industry that you didn't know, or that you find surprising, or something that might be interesting to share? Like
Mhm.
you must have an interesting insight about the industry as a whole from
Yeah,
seeing both
sure.
sides of everything.
I mean, there's so many ways I could take this question, trying
Well,
to
however you
figure out
however you'd
the
like.
most interesting way. One thing I'll say, and I feel like this is out there a lot, you're always hearing like it's a matter of taste. And this can really piss people off in the query trenches, and I understand why. We'll send these rejections out that say, it's so subjective, it's a matter of taste, and people feel like it's not helpful, it's not saying anything,
Mm.
you know. But I guess having been on multiple sides of this, it's just the truth. Like,
Yeah.
of course, we can talk about a manuscript and what can be done to improve it. And I'm not saying we shouldn't focus on the craft and improving story. But if the story is tight and if the prose is good, it's just a matter of taste. And I have seen, oh my gosh. I mean, I have all these projects on submission for my clients, obviously, and even the books I've sold have gotten their share of rejections. And I've got them all on spreadsheets, and I can read down the line of one single spreadsheet, and you would not believe that they're talking about the same book. You just
Mm.
wouldn't believe it.
Right.
Even I actually shared rejections that I got on Made for You, which was my debut last year. I, took the editors' names out so that it's private, but on my Substack, I just listed them all because it was funny to me. Like, there's literally one rejection that says, this book has promise, but it's too long. It needs to be really cut a lot. Like, it needs a lot of
Mm.
editing, and I just don't have time to edit it. But if the author ever trims a lot, you can send it back. It was something like that. The
Right.
very next rejection we got was, thanks for such a pacey read.
Wow.
It's not a fit for my list because it's a little too sci-fi, but this was like a real page turner. And you just have to like let it go. You
Yeah.
can't get too hung up on any person's rejection because they will be all over the place. They just will be. That's, I think, one thing that I have known for a while, but that I might not have known when I started writing. I would have thought there's a consensus. These are the professionals, right? They know what's good and they know what's going to sell. And so they're going to be kind of a consistent block. But no, they are not
Mm.
consistent at all. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think, and this piggybacks off that a little bit, the value, people wonder, I think, a lot about like the value of an advance. How much might they get for this book? Um, I get this question a good bit on offer calls. And it's a fine question to ask. Like, how much money do you think you can sell this for? And I just have to laugh and say, I have no freaking clue.
Yeah.
Because, and one example that I'll share without too many details is there's a book I sold last year. Fantastic book. We went out to a good chunk of editors and we got an offer pretty quickly. And the offer was for $5,000. Was it 5,000? Maybe it was 7,000. Doesn't matter. 5, 7. A small five-figure advance. An
Right.
advance that like authors might be quite happy with. And at the time I was quite happy. I was like, awesome. Like it's a smaller but decent reputable publisher. The editor really loves this. This is very exciting.
Right.
So what happens when you get a first offer is then you notify all the other editors, just like when you're querying. Notify all the other editors who haven't rejected it yet and say, we have an offer. You have 2 weeks to read this and
Right.
tell me
Right.
if you
Right.
want to offer. It's exactly the same.
Right. Right.
Um, so we have another editor jumping in like, okay, I'm reading this weekend. I'm really liking it so far. I'll get back to you. I'm like, okay, well, we'll see what happens. And then I don't remember what day of the week it was, but it might have been after the weekend. So like Monday, an offer lands and like I open it up and it's a six-figure offer.
Wow.
And I just was like, huh, 5,000, 100,000.
Oh my gosh.
That is just so funny to me. Um, and in this case, it was a non-Big Five and then a Big Five imprint. But
Right.
even within Big Five, I've been lucky enough to manage quite a few auctions for my authors. So I see the variety of offers that are coming in and the
Hmm.
different dollar amounts that people are throwing out there. And it's just not predictable.
Right.
If I had not submitted to the second editor in the case of the book I was just talking about, we might very well have sold it for, $5,000 or $7,000 to the first editor and been happy and had a good experience.
Right.
But this other editor thought it was worth a heck of a lot more, and
Wow.
I couldn't be more thrilled. And then the auction started, and then the money escalated from
Oh
there.
my gosh.
Um, so you just can't predict how much money a book will get. You just
Right.
can't. And
Right.
that to me is like one of those wonderful, very specific examples of here are two very different dollar amounts. Here's what this publisher thought it was worth, and here's what this publisher thought it was
Yeah.
worth.
Yeah. So both of your stories tied together basically say that the publishing industry is not predictable. You can't
Correct. It's
predict
not
what the
predictable.
you can't predict what an agent will think. You can't predict what an editor will think.
Right.
You can't predict how much money they'll offer you. And
Yeah.
to try to predict it is a form of insanity. Just you have to go with it.
It
And
is. And it makes me nervous. I've had a few conversations with authors since becoming an agent where they had very firm beliefs in how much money they wanted for their book.
hmm,
And those always make me nervous. I always think to myself, like, it's a fine line between confidence in your book and belief in its worth and its
hmm,
potential and expectation of an industry that you have very little control over.
right.
So I'm all for confident authors who tell me, like, I want a six-figure deal. Fantastic. I also want a six-figure deal. I'm telling you. I would like that for all of my books, please. But I think you really have to pair that tremendous confidence in yourself and in your work with that reality check of there are works of tremendous value and beauty that just don't end up getting money. Like it's
Right.
not a perfect match of um I guess talent and skill that just doesn't there's not an equal sign between that and the money side. There are too many factors and your agent I think will do their best to send it to the right people who have those deep pocketbooks and um, might have the potential at giving more money to that book, but you can't guarantee that. Any agent who does is lying.
Right. Right.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, awesome. This is so great. We're about to wrap up. We have the fast round of questions. So there's a
All
bunch of questions
right.
here. You could answer it however you want. You can say don't- no response if you want to. They're just supposed to be fun.
Awesome.
And then I'll give you time to maybe plug something that you've upcoming or something you want to talk
Sure.
about. So
Sounds good.
first fast round question.
Okay.
Are you a plotter or a pantser?
I'm a plantser. I'm in between. I start pantsing. I have to start spontaneous. I have to start free. I have to start just like with no expectations. And then when I get stuck at 20,000 words or 15,000 words, it's time to like figure out what the crap happens.
Oh, that's so funny. That's a great answer. I would describe myself the same way, but reverse. I
Oh,
start with the
really?
idea.
Yeah.
It's planned out. It's not plotted specifically, but it's plotted somewhat, and
Yeah.
then I have to let myself go and just go with it. But yeah, I
No,
think
that actually sounds very similar to me. Because I'll have kind of the idea of what's going to happen, but I haven't planned out who
right,
are all the people, what are all the red herrings.
right,
But there
right,
comes
right.
a point where you really have to actually stop and think about that.
Yeah, yeah. But it's so fun not to know yourself, isn't it?
Oh, it's so fun to discover as you go and
Mhm.
let your characters surprise you.
The best.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. What's one writing rule you don't really agree with?
Hmm. Um, if you ever hear like you always have to show, don't tell, that's just bogus.
Mm,
Trash it. It's the worst advice of all time. I don't think anyone is saying that. I think people read show, don't tell and assume it means 100% of the time, and it just doesn't. Showing takes longer. You're breaking down kind of the facial expressions and the visual signs that show your reader that the character is anxious, for example, instead of just telling them, Bridget was feeling anxious. But it's so much more efficient to tell and to just tell the reader Bridget was anxious that there are absolutely times that you just need to tell them. You need to tell them, like, Bridget and her husband, had a conversation about their summer plans. Done. Instead of spending 2 pages with unnecessary summer planning dialogue that might not be relevant to the plot. So, yeah, it's never show, don't tell. It's you need to have that insight and wisdom about where to do each one.
yeah, I think I absolutely agree with you. I think that's like a sign of a masterful writer if they know when to show and when to tell and can do
It's
both well,
tricky.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, next question. This one's a little tough. So
Okay.
you don't have to name someone in the industry. You can
Okay.
name a family member.
Mm.
But the question is, who inspires you?
Oh, I'll just say my agent, Lauren Beaker with Fine Print. She inspires me because not every agent would stick with someone for 6 books without
Hmm,
having sold a darn thing. I mean, she made zero money off me for 4 years.
Right.
Bless her heart. And she never stopped believing. I was afraid she was going to fire me at various points, not from anything she did, but just I was like, well, crap, how long is she going to keep working on these books that we can't seem to move? And she was always so reassuring, like, no, no, we're going to keep going. And when we sell the first one, then we're going to sell all of them. And even though we haven't sold all of them, we have sold like a lot of them.
Yeah.
So I just really want to bring that same energy to my authors
Yeah, it's
as an agent.
amazing. It's
Mm.
amazing. And she cheerleaded you when you wanted to become an agent and kind of pointed
Heck
you in the right
yeah.
direction. Oh, what a
She's my
great
girl.
answer. What a great answer. Um, okay, if you could offer one piece of advice to aspiring writers, what would it be? I know that's a tough one, but
Um, I I had to answer this question at a conference recently, so this is front of mind. I would say find an internal reason to write,
hmm,
not an external. It's, well, you can have external reasons. You should absolutely indulge in fantasizing and planning and trying to make it happen for yourself in terms of finding an agent, selling your book for six figures. Like, yeah, go for it. There's no shame in wanting to make money off of art or in having very specific, almost business flavored goals. That's fantastic. But if that's all that you have, it will destroy you. You will be destroyed. You will be crushed at some point. Maybe not immediately, but 2 years later, because if you want to be published for a long time, there's going to be ups and downs. So I think everyone should look deep in their hearts and find out, if I don't get the six-figure deal, if I can't find an agent, why am I doing this? If there's no answer, I would be concerned. But I think for most of us, there is an answer. It's because it gives us the escape, like we were talking about before, or joy, or that's how we process, or I don't know. It can be really anything you want, but if you don't have that, it makes you more vulnerable to the rejection.
right. As you said, if everyone does have it, then it's important for to stay in touch, keep in touch with that, or revisit that from time to
Yes,
time
and
when you get this.
rediscover it. And it doesn't
Yeah,
have to be the same reason forever, you know? The same as your goals of agent, you know, what agent you want or who you want to sell your book to. All everything can evolve over time, and I do think it's a constant journey as you write over the years of coming back and looking at yourself again and saying, "Okay, why am I doing this again?"
right.
And having an answer.
Oh, I love that. Okay, final question. This one is my favorite and perhaps the most difficult of all. Um, so name a book that changed your life. And this could be a book that
Mm-hmm.
from your childhood, the first
Mm-hmm.
book. It could be
Mm-hmm.
a book that you read last week that you just loved. It could be anything, really.
I'm gonna steal what you said about first book. The first book I remember reading is Little Women. I was 6 years old when I
Oh my
first read.
gosh.
It was like this chunk. We had this edition. It was a huge book. Um, I guess I was an early reader. So yeah, I read that when I was really young, and then proceeded to read it probably like a dozen times over the
Oh my
course of my
gosh.
grade school years. And every time Beth dies, spoiler, I would cry. And I think that was my introduction to books make you feel things. And I returned to it over and over again, partly because I wanted to cry again. I wanted to go through all those feelings. And I think now that I'm a writer, I want to make people feel things.
Wow.
How magical. I
Oh
mean,
my
that's what drew
gosh.
me to reading. And I think that's what draws many people to reading.
Oh, what a beautiful answer. And at 6 years old, that's unbelievable. That's the
I
book you
was a
tapped
little
into.
nerd, tiny
Oh, that's
nerd.
so cool. That's so cool. What a great answer. Um, I loved talking to you today. It's just so much fun.
It
Uh,
was.
yes. Learned so much. I could talk to you all day about this stuff. It's the best.
I
Um,
could too. There's publishing has many layers, and
I,
yes,
I do want to give you a chance to talk about your upcoming projects. I know you're so excited about on the author side, I think, what stuff
yes.
you're going through. So why don't you tell us about some of this?
Well, for any who may be on video, I'll hold the book up. So this is my next book out. Actually, here's the UK edition. It's out June 19th, so just in 17 days. It's called Beach Bodies. In the US, it's out in August, and it's called A Killer Getaway. And I love this book. To me, this is like a quintessential beach read, and I don't feel like I had written a beach read before this. The idea is a woman goes to a resort in the Caribbean once a year and, you know, kills some fools.
Sounds cool.
We are killing toxic people. But this year there's a very handsome man on her tail, and so she has to kind of navigate her feelings for him and
Hmm.
also potentially the need to like take him out before he pins anything on her.
Oh, but there's a
So
romance, right? This is
no,
a
yeah. So it's a
romance.
thriller romance.
Oh, I love it.
Full thriller plot, full romance plot
So
in
cool.
a sandwich together. And it was like a blast to write. I had so much fun.
That's
Yeah, I
amazing.
feel like not all books are equally fun to write, and this was definitely top or top two of the most fun I had while writing.
That's
So that's
amazing.
the summer. And then in the fall, in November, I have the New Year's party coming out. It's my second book with Mira, and it's about 10 friends who've been celebrating New Year's together for like a really long time, like 15 years or something. But the last 5 years they've been on a hiatus because of life drama. So they're finally getting back together after this pause. And it turns out they all have beef with each other. They have secrets, there are wounds, we
Th-
are pissed off,
This sounds.
and it's like a 24-hour locked room murder mystery.
Oh,
And
that
you're kind
sounds.
of who's dead and who kills the person. It's been compared to Lucy Foley, which is a huge honor because I love my Lucy Foley. But it's that style of book where it's multi POV, friend group dynamics, and morally gray, nasty people.
I love it. That sounds right up my alley. I can't wait to read
They're
that.
terrible. They're really just terrible people. Both of these are on NetGalley, by the way. So if there are any NetGalley users, A Killer Getaway and New Year's Party are both available to request for free. And I should mention A Killer Getaway / Beach Bodies is under my pseudonym, so don't be thrown. That's Sienna Sharp.
Oh,
But New
that's
Year's
great
Party is
information.
under my actual name.
Oh,
So
perfect. That's
yeah,
really
just to
cool.
add more confusion to what's happening.
Hey, you're doing it
Yeah.
all. You're doing it.
Whoa.
You're doing everything. Well, thank you so much for coming today. It was so amazing to have you. And like I said, can't wait to read the books. And yeah, can't wait to
Thank you,
talk more
Jason. It
about
was
it.
so fun to talk. Loved getting to know you a little bit, and thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for watching The Right Thing. If you're interested in learning more about what we talked about in today's podcast, you can head over to Substack to check out my newsletter at jasonearhart.substack.com for an even deeper look into the writer's journey. Also, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. That way you can check out all the things we'll be talking about in the coming weeks. We'll be back next time with another interview, offering more insights to take your craft to the next level. Until then, just keep writing.